Welcome everybody to Telemann. In this video we are going to be talking about the cycle, and I'm going to be actually explaining exactly how it works and how it's a cycle in the first place. So the best place to start off for the cycle is probably in Origins. So Origins is where everything supposedly first began, but it's kind of hard to say that because of what I'll explain in a second. So in Origins we do see our characters get the staff, so keep note of everything I am saying. So we see our characters get the staffs and we see the premise statues there. So that is all fine and all, and we do the Easter egg and all that good stuff. But then there's this giant 2-year gap that I'm not going to spend too much time on, but we don't know what our other 3 characters were doing between the time of Origins and the giant. And when I say the other 3 characters, I mean Takeo, Dempsey, and Nikolai. But we do have a better idea of what Richtofen was doing. We do know he did meet up with the transit crew. We don't know what he did there because that is for the comics books that are coming out very soon, and of course when those come out I'll make videos on those, but we're not too sure when that takes place, so I'm not going to put this anywhere on screen. But as for the other events, that when Richtofen gets his hands on the Chronorium, then the Chronorium tells the location of the summoning key, and when he finds the location of the summoning key, he travels to Shadows of Evil, and that's what Shadows of Evil is. And when he gets the summoning key from Shadows of Evil, he goes probably straight to the giant. I don't see where else he would go, but it seems like he would go straight to the giant, but of course that's up for speculation right now. So in the giant, of course, our characters meet up, and that's pretty much the main focus of that map, that our characters just met up there. And then from there they went to Dreisedrache. It's unclear if they actually went to a different universe from the giant and Dreisedrache, but we do know for a fact after Dreisedrache, when we collect Dempsey's soul, that we did go to a different universe in Zetsubo no Shima because of a Richtofen Dempsey conversation talking about it. But in Zetsubo no Shima it actually gets pretty interesting. So after we collect Takeo 1.0 soul, we actually go to Mob of the Dead or Alcatraz. So we collect the blood vials for our other 3 characters, and like I said, when I say our other 3 characters, I mean Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey, and they get the blood. Now as for Richtofen's blood, I think we can finally explain how he got his blood, but that's going to take too long. So hopefully later today, maybe today, hopefully, or if not today, tomorrow, I'll make a video on that, exactly how Richtofen got his blood. But we go to Mob of the Dead and we get the blood for we already know what, but of course we'll get to there in a second. And after traveling to a different universe to Gorod Krovi, we collect the souls, and Richtofen sends up the souls to Maxis, and of course they become the children in the house. But in Revelations, of course, as you guys know, the Easter egg takes place, and you guys have all seen the ending cutscene. And of course, what happens in the ending cutscene, our characters are going to be thrown out of existence pretty much by Dr. Monty, but somehow he changes his mind and decides to send us back in time. Now he says history, but history, sending back somebody back in history is sending somebody back in time. Just want to make that clear for anybody who is confused by that. So he sent us back in time. This is how our timeline actually becomes circular, and it actually becomes a cycle. So in Revelations, our characters are sent back in time to the Primus days, and this is where the staffs are actually crafted. This is where their origins are actually from, and it's when Primus are Primus. This is where our characters become Primus, and they craft the staffs, and they do whatever they did there. So what happens from here, what the Primus crew were doing, is really we know nothing of, besides they fought in the great battle and all that stuff. But after Primus did everything they did, they unfortunately died because they're not immortals. So they died. We know that they had to have died because there's no proof for them being immortals or them going anywhere else or even traveling in time. So after Primus dies, this is where it gets interesting, because after they die, their history continues. So their timeline still continues. The universe where Primus is still continues. So the time progresses. So let's just say they were in the 1400s, so then it goes to the 1500s, the 1600s, 1700s, then the 1800s, and the late 1800s is when our Origins characters are first born, and then in 1918 Origins takes place. So in a sense they were reborn, and we do know this is the same universe that Primus was in, because if it wasn't, then there wouldn't be staffs, because Primus are the ones who crafted the staffs. They are the ancients. So this is how the cycle works, and the paradox effects of the staffs exist. So this is pretty much a cycle, or at least the idea of the cycle, that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have in their head. I'm not too sure, I haven't seen anything else like this, but I'm pretty sure this is how the cycle works. Now this is just how I see it. If there are any mistakes, go ahead and tell me down in the comments, but as you guys can see, this is how the cycle probably works. And I just want to make note one last time, is this last part. I know so many people get confused about this because everyone knows the origins to Revelations to Primus, but they don't really get how Primus becomes Origins, because Primus is in the past of the Origins universe. That's why you see the statues in Origins of Primus. That's why they exist there. That's why the staffs exist. I just want to make this crystal clear that this is how their universe works, because Primus was alive, they built the staffs, the statues were built of them, and they died. Primus died, and then after their death, time progressed, then the point where our Origins characters were born, and then they lived until they met again in Origins. So hopefully that explains it, at least some. If I'm still not crystal clear, go ahead and tell me down in the comments if you have any questions at all. But if you guys did enjoy this video and you found it informative, go ahead and thumbs up. And if you guys want to stay tuned for more storyline stuff just like this, go ahead and subscribe. But I'm gonna go, and I will catch you guys on my next video.